Hi, welcome to Co-Teach University. My name is Mr. Co. Let's get started. All right, today's video is about checking taxes. And the video is for students who are studying to become the CEO and the tax person. So what exactly is the tax person? What kind of job do they do? Well, it's two main things. First, they kind of check to see the calculation of these taxes are correct. And these taxes, are income, capital gains, business, and property. And just as a side note, the income taxes are the most popular because every single student has to pay those. These other ones are optional in terms of starting a business, owning property, and investing. The second role is to make sure that the taxes are paid. So the have people paid spreadsheet is updated. This video is going to go over kind of four main topics. One is checking income taxes, two, checking capital gains taxes, three, checking business taxes, and four, checking property taxes. And just a heads up, this is another video in terms of have people paid, so please see that video. All right, checking income taxes. So we're going to go to these three separate places, but one at a time. So first, we're going to go to an example income tax form. All right, so here's an income tax form, and this is filled out by student A as an apple. So the job of the tax person is to check to see if the person calculated the numbers correctly. So for example, here's our calculator. Student A wrote down these four incomes, and the tax person is simply going to add them up and verify, yep, that this person in fact added correctly. Now, the tax person does not verify where these numbers came from. The tax person is only responsible for making sure they calculated their taxes correctly. All right, so we'll go back here. All right, so the tax person will go through that, 15%, yep. And then here we go, the tax form. So we have here the student did not make any deductions, so we're going to verify that this number times 0.15 is in fact 383.76. So let me do that. 2558.4 times 0.15. 383.76. 383.76. So this student A is an apple, did their taxes correctly. So you as a tax person are simply going to put a little stamp, or you can check and just say approved, and you're going to sign your name. That way it tells everyone else that yes, it's approved, it's verified, and then it's signature by yourself. All right, so we went to an example income tax form. We are going to check that the student actually paid the tax. It's one thing to calculate how much the tax is owed. It's another thing to make sure they pay it. So let's go to our Co-Teach University My Kids bank account, which is right here. And we're going to click here at tax. Oh. All right, so let's log in as a tax person. So we're going to check the tax. And this shows you everything that has been paid to the tax. Now we're looking for student A as an apple. We see student A as an apple right here. They paid 383.76. 383.76. Yep. So you verify that they paid. They did their calculations correctly. They've paid. So now let's go update the have people paid spreadsheet. And all you're going to do for say student A, taxes, you're just going to write paid. That tells everybody that student A has paid their taxes for this particular month down here. Don't worry about writing the amounts. We only need that for the life cycle. All right, so that's checking income taxes. Let's go to checking capital gains taxes. Now, capital gains taxes, as mentioned in the course, is basically capital is kind of like wealth, and gains is obviously what you kind of earn or get more of. So that has to do with investments. So let's go to an example investment withdrawal form. So this is an example of the investment withdrawal form. Again, your job as a tax person is to just verify that they did their calculations correctly. Don't worry about all these, did they check the right box, or did they, all you're doing is making sure that their math is correct in calculating the taxes. All right, so just a heads up, this is a kind of a dense form. So just to give you an overview, this left-hand side is about investments, and this right-hand side is about retirement. So reading the question here, it says, how much would you like to withdraw from regular investing? 500. Question 2 is, how much would you like to withdraw from retirement? And they're going to try to withdraw 300. All right, so question 3 is, did you invest in regular investing for 10 or more weeks? They chose yes. So they're going to use the long-term capital gains tax rate, which is right here, which is 0%. So they're going to write right here 0%. That should say 0. All right. Now we're moving on to question 4. You're just kind of double checking, okay, yes. They went to question 4B. 4B says here, traditional IRA, is they're going to add their most recent tax rate, which is right here, 15%, and add 10%. So 15% plus 10%, that's where we got this 25%. All right, so moving on. Box 5 says multiply box 1 with the rate from box 3. So box 1 is up here, 500 times 0%. And we know anything times 0 is 0, so that's why that 0 is there. And here is 300. We're going to multiply by 0.25. So let's kind of bring our calculator out, clear that. So 300 times 0.25, 75. And in fact, yep, that's 75. And box number 7 says add boxes 5 and 6. So box 5 is 0, plus 6 is 75. 75. So far, so good. All right. Box 7 says subtract box 1 and box 5. So box 1 is right here, 500, minus 0. Well, just for the sake of having it here, 500 minus 0, 500. Great. So that's correct. And then here it says box 2 and box 5. We're going to subtract that. So we're going to say 300 minus 75. I said box 2 and box 6. Excuse me if I made a mistake. So we're going to go 300 minus 75, 225. So yep, so far so good. You're going to add box 7 and 8. So box 7 is 500. And box 8 is 225. 725 is right there. And they're done. So we pretty much checked to see if they made the calculations correctly. The student will give this paper to you. And then as a tax person, you're going to verify that they have paid the amount in box 7. So let's go back to the My Kids bank account. And we're going to go to the investment account. Investment. And the student has not paid. So in that case, you're going to go back to the investment sheet. It says sign the box to verify they've paid. They have not paid this. So you're not going to sign it. All right, so we're back. And what happened was this student Student Z is in zebra, did not pay their taxes, so you didn't sign it. So you told student Z, like, hey, student Z, pay your capital gains tax. And student Z says, okay. So student Z said, oh, got it, I paid it. So you're like, okay, let me check. So you check tax, and student Z, capital gains tax, $75. So once they've paid, you check that. You're going to put your signature right here. That stands for your signature. And now you're going to give the paper to the investment banker. And that's it for the capital gains taxes. All right, let's move on to the business taxes. So we're going to go to an example business tax form. Here's an example business tax form. This is from a business called Got Your Back Insurance. And they have this income. Again, your job is to not verify this income. Your job is to make sure that they have done this calculation correctly. So let's get our little calculator out. So 3,450. They have some deductions here. Deductions actually deduct or subtract from the amount of tax they have to pay. So that 800 plus 150, 800 plus 150, 950, which in fact is right there. And now it says for line 5, subtract line 4 from line 1. So we're going to go like this. 3,450 subtracted by 950 should get 2,500. Yep, sure enough. And then we're going to multiply lines 5 and 6. So that times 0.09. In fact, yes, they had to pay $225 in taxes. So what you're going to do is you're going to prove this. Say, yep, I've checked it. And you're going to signature of tax person. And let's pretend that's in a nice signature font. There you go. So you're just basically checking to see if they calculated their taxes correctly, not whether these numbers are necessarily accurate. That's for another person. All right, so we did an example business tax form, but let's see if they actually paid that tax. So you're gonna go here at tax and business, got your back business, $225. So yes, they've paid that tax. All right, the last one is property tax. So we are going to go to an example property tax form. Here we are. And we're going to look at student G as in goat. And they purchased the desk, table 7 of hearts. They paid $6,250 for it. And they have to pay a 1.8% tax. So again, all we're doing, we're not verifying whether this number is correct. We're just making sure that they calculated their tax correctly. So 6,250 times times 0.018, and it's $112.50. Sure enough, that is correct. So you're going to take this or some other stamp, and you say, yep, approved. And you're going to sign it, signature of tax person. And then you're like, good. So they have to pay this amount, and you verify that amount. So let's make sure to go to My Kids Bank. Let's make sure they actually paid it. So here we go. Student G, property tax for 7 of hearts, $112.50. So they're all good to go. So some points to remember as we close. You are responsible for checking the tax of the forms and whether the student calculated correctly. You're also responsible for checking to see if people actually pay the taxes. You are not responsible for whether, let me move over here, whether those numbers are accurate, whether they actually have that income or not. All you're doing is checking the math. So let me just give you like a quick example. Again, you're not responsible for verifying this amount. You are responsible to check that, yes, they added this correctly, and you are responsible for making sure that this is calculated correctly and whether they paid their taxes, student A. Oops. Thank you for watching, and as Walt Disney would say, whatever you do, do it well.